while they're going through the divorce? Or post-divorce? I mean, are there other...
Well, I don't necessarily see the couples post-divorce. I will see them as individuals. Now, if you're asking if it's the same people, like if I had seen them together, I cannot then start working with them individually. But what I mean is that I will see, I often see individuals, a person calls and said, I'm in the middle of the separation, I've moved out, or they've moved out, etc., and I would like to come in, and they're getting help to really navigate through. Often they're the person that doesn't want the divorce, and they're trying to come to terms with it. And again, those are sometimes cases where the spouse has been trying, they may come in together, and the spouse is not very invested in the therapy because they've made up their mind, but they're there hoping that I will save the day. I will, they're going to say, no, and now you stay with Suzanne, and I'm not going to, and I'm moving out, but you continue to see her and she'll help you adjust.
We're doing
that happens too.
The different therapy stages. Also occurs to me, what happens, and it seems to me there's a remarriage or something else. I mean, do you get involved in, once again, when you're trying to integrate a new spouse into the process, or?
I'm trying to think. I may have, in other words, if it's been a couple that is divorced, and they might come back in.
Dealing with the issues that happen with the remarriage issues.
Yes. I don't do much of that. I wouldn't say I never have, because I've been in practice.
I haven't seen a lot of people doing it. It surprises me that they don't. I'm just sort of curious. I'm surprised that, because there seems to be a big problem integrating a new person, and
oh, it is.
You're still your stepmother. I'm not your mother. Your mother. There's a lot of tension going on that way, but people don't seem to seek help the same way for that.
No, but I do have people coming in, and actually, what I'll do is, if let's say they are one's about to remarry, or they're both remarried, and there's problems, I actually try to have the biological parents come in together. That's not always possible, like I said, because if it's a very high conflict, highly reactive couple, that's not good.
We're getting back to children again. I'm sorry to sort of digress. I sometimes jump around too much. But was there a point when the children are more vulnerable to the effects of parental separation and divorce?
Well, I look at two things. I like to put it in a context. There's a lot being talked about now of attachment theory and bonding. So children best adjust when there's been some kind of a secure attachment with either parent, and then you can kind of put the age range in there. Very small children, first of all, they don't understand a lot. I mean, if you're talking, 0 to 5, they're cognitively not as developed. When you get a little bit older, they make sense, but there's various, responses and reactions. But it also has to do with whether they have much bonding with either of the parent. So there's a lot of factors to think about, not just this age and they're going to respond that way. You kind of have to combine these things.
What are some of the problems that you see with children?
Like what age would you want to?
Any
age.
Work your way up.
Okay. Well, since I have more experience with adolescents and I have very, very little with small children, adolescents will react they can be, like I said, very volatile. They'll maybe run away. The other thing that happens with teens, and this has probably already been evolving, is they might start caretaking one of the parents.
Interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. It's what we call the parentified child. And so that child is probably already somewhat parentified. And a crisis occurs, or they're about to be, separating in divorce, and their loyalties are torn, but they tend to go to one parent and start doing things for them. Maybe that parent is falling apart. They can't. It's really an emotional.
Excuse me for
kind
turning
of
my
thing.
head on you. I was trying to fix the
Oh,
slides.
that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm talking.
We're a one-person operation here, so people don't always understand the production side of it.
Yeah.
We're doing it all by ourselves.
Yes. So that's not uncommon at all. You know, a teenager is, well, I'm going to live at this house and I'll just visit the other parent because, you know, the house that I'm going to be living in, I have to be there for my parent. You know, maybe the other one is like, you know, dating or out sort of already, maybe they're already in another relationship. And so they might stay with the parent that really didn't want the divorce, and so they're there to kind of like help out and really emotionally kind of be there for that parent, because maybe that parent is divorced or they're very anxious or they're, you know, sort of quote unquote really not functioning very well.
Okay. Before I forget again, let's switch our screen again so you can get the information for the last time about Suzanne. There's her telephone number, her email address, and her website, and check it out for us so if you can get more information on her.
Thank you.
We sort of talked a little bit about dating. You just mentioned it again. What are some of
Dating,
the
yeah.
challenges parents face and that you deal with when they start dating again? I mean, that's
Yeah.
I find that amusing is that when I'm doing mediation cases, very often one of the first questions I'm asked is, "Can we start dating again?" And when I had a couple once, a quick anecdote I always found was cute was they said, "Can we date again?" And I said, "Yeah, just try to be discreet so you don't, you know, you're not getting in
Yeah.
each other's way and there's a problem." And they came back the next week for the mediation session. I said, "Sort of, how did it go?" And they're sort of laughing at me and they're saying, "What's going on?" And I said, "We followed your instructions and we tried to be discreet." So we both went to, I was into another town to eat at a restaurant where we wouldn't think we'd see each other, and we were seated at tables next to each other. They both dated, both next to each other with a new date. So
With their children?
no, not their
Okay.
children, but the new dates. But
Okay.
they ended up sitting right next
Right.
to each other in a restaurant.
Okay.
So there must have been something in common with the people. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a lot of people that come, you know, what they're seeing me and that comes up. I coach them to not just be discreet, but take their time introducing this person to their children. So go slowly, make sure, you know, before you introduce them that, you know, there's something possibly that's interesting. One of the hardest times is when there's teenagers and the parents are separating and divorced and the parents start dating, because that's about the time when they are.
one of the issues, it's interesting that one of the issues that I found, and we'll get a quick answer because we're running out of time, is the overnight issues where the couple, you know, they want to have, they're dating somebody, they want the parents want their
Yes.
new significant person to stay over, and the other
Yes.
person doesn't want them staying over. How do you deal with, I mean, with the children? I mean, it gets to be very complicated, you know.
Those are very complicated. In other words,
That's why you
it's
have
like
less
they-
than 15 seconds.
Okay. I don't think I can answer that
Okay,
in
that-
15
that's-
seconds. Those are so
No, they
complicated,
is.
and they are, I will say they're very common.
Okay, I was sort of teasing you on doing that. Well, we are running out of time.
Okay.
Suzanne, this was wonderful, very interesting to do all those things. Thank you for being on the show. You guys said you can get more information about Suzanne at our website, at her website, which hopefully you got earlier at that point, and you've been watching Divorce TV.